Ah, yes, the memories of dealing with unreasonable people. Hey guys, welcome back. Now, I have my fair share of retail horror stories, but to be honest, I am very disappointed in humanity that some of these even happened. Trust me, I am not being overdramatic, and if you worked retail, you know. Story number 1, the Thwacker. Now when this happened, my store was closing down, and when a store closes, they don't want to do any returns or exchanges because they don't want the merchandise coming back to them because they'll never close that way. All sales are final. Of course, we know not everybody knows this rule, so we had signs hanging up everywhere. When you walk into the mall, there is a sign that says all sales final. When you're having a transaction at the cash register, when you look down on the mat, it says all sales final. And we had gigantic signs hanging all over the store that says all sales final. If you can't read, we'll tell you at the register that all sales are final, period. So I had a very old couple come up to the register, and they were going to buy one pair of shoes that was $40, and they looked to be about 80 or 90, very old, and couldn't speak English. In the transactions, I repeated multiple times that they can't do any returns or exchanges, so are they sure they want to buy this? Do you understand? And they nodded their head, yeah, I understand. And I was like, okay, so the total is $40, so they know whatever tax was then. And they handed the cash, put in the register, I backed it up, and I gave it to them. And I was like, no returns or exchanges, okay? All sales are final. I pointed at the sign below us, above us, and I was like, all good? And they're like, yeah, of course. So they walked away, and I was dealing with customers all throughout the line. I was helping everybody, and a few minutes later they come back and he tells me that he doesn't like the color. Can he go exchange it? And I'm like, sir, we can't do any returns or exchanges. And he's like, but I just want to exchange, same shoes, different color. And I'm like, no, we can't do any exchanges, all sales final, pointing at the sign. He grudgingly went back, got the other pair of shoes, came back, and he says to me, they're the same price, just do an exchange. And I'm like, sir, we are closing down. We can't accept anything else. We can't do this for you. I'm so sorry. Do you want me to call manager for you? And he's like, no, I'll just buy the shoes. So during the transaction of buying the shoes, he's now buying the next pair of $40, which he would have paid over $80 at this point. So we're going through the next transaction with the other pair of shoes, and halfway through he's like, miss, can I get a discount? And I'm like, we can't give out any discounts, sir. It's just buy shoes. If you don't have points in the reward system, we can't use it. After I said no, he just starts begging, saying, please give me a discount. I don't have much money. And I have to tell him, no, I can't do that, sir. I'm sorry. And then he finally turns to me and he starts laughing. He's like, haha, you're too loyal to Sears. And then he leans over the register and thwacks me on the forehead. And I'm just standing there stunned, like, did I really just get thwacked by an old man? Do I, like, thwack him back? Do I call security? What do I do? And then he proceeds to beg me for a discount. And I just tell him, sir, no, you're not getting a discount. And in my head, I'm just like, especially after thwacking me, like, first of all, don't touch me. If you're not getting what you want, don't touch me. I'm not going to give it to you afterwards. Like, what do you want me to do? Just be like, oh, he thwacked my forehead. Of course I'm going to give him a discount. Why wouldn't I? Duh. So after I tell him a hard no, he's like, fine, I'll pay. So we're towards the end of the transaction at this point, and then he just kind of turns to me, and he's like, oh, I'm so hungry. I don't have any money anymore. And I just look at him like, are you serious right now? And I take the money to put in the register, and I say, oh, I'm so hungry too. That's why I work so hard. And he just kind of went quiet, like, oh, I pissed her off. I guess I made her upset. Oopsies. Like, yeah, you made me upset. Put the money in the register, and I finished transaction. I'm like, here you go, sir. No returns, no exchanges, final. I'm sorry we didn't get what you want, but that's what I can do for you. And he's like, okay, fine. And they left the store. And I turned to my coworker because she was behind the Levi jeans. She was watching everything, and she just looked at me and laughed. She's like, ha, did he hit you? I'm like, yeah, he did. Do you want to help me? And she's like, nah. And she continues folding. I was like, okay. But I wasn't that mad. He just thwacked me. It wasn't like a hard thwack. It was more of like a that. It wasn't just like, he didn't do it to hurt me. He just did it to, I guess, irritate or to get off some steam of his. But yeah, I got thwacked that day. Story number 2, that customer. We've all had that customer that comes up to you with unreasonable questions because you represent the store, so you have to have answers for them. But they're not even good questions. They're just there to irritate you or poke at you. So This guy was that customer. The best way to describe him is he was a bigger guy with a white beard and a red shirt. The stereotypical Santa, and that's what he was. And he came up to my line and he was next. I was like, oh look, this guy looks nice. I hope so. And he came up with his wife and we start the transaction. And before I can start like scanning anything, I'm like, hi, how are you today? I was in a good mood. I was just telling him, good manners. How are you today? Did you find everything all right? And he's like, no. Can you answer one of my questions? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And he's like, why does Sears not support bigger women? I just went to your dress section and there's nothing for plus size women. Look at my wife. She's beautiful and you have nothing to adorn her. What's wrong with you? Why does Sears discriminate? And I'm just standing there stunned. Like, after you're in a while in a retail, you kind of know how to like retaliate with questions in a nice way, with nice answers. And I got good at it after a while. So I looked at him and I told him, sir, we do have clothing for plus size women. It's called Simply Emma and we have a section in the back. I'm sure you saw it. We had a pretty big array of clothing, but I'm sorry you don't have dresses for them. We have dresses online. Do you want us to go and check online for you so we can ship it to your house for free? And he's like, no, I want them in store. This is so unreasonable. And I'm like, sir, we do have a selection for plus size women which are beautiful, but they're online. If you want to look at them, we can take you to the computer to look at them. If not, this is what we have in store, there's nothing in the back. And he's like, I don't want to do that. Just hurry the transaction. So I finished the transaction with him, and it wasn't long, it just took like a minute, but it's just a reminder that there are people like this that literally come up to you to make your day worse for no reason. On to my next story. Story number 3, the cursing little boy. So it's another day at the register and I wasn't the one dealing with the customers this time. I was just kind of doing go backs and there was someone else at the register and she was dealing with his family with a little boy who was running around the store and I was like, okay, whatever, we deal with this all the time. And so I go to do go backs and I can feel the boy running by me and stuff. So I turn to the little boy to try to calm him down. I'm like, hey, how are you doing today? You want to not run? And he just looks at me. He's like, eh. And he keeps running. I'm like, okay, whatever. Do what you want, kid. Don't bother me though. And so I was just doing go backs. As I leaned over at one point, I feel something run behind me and smack my butt. And I just kind of stand there like, who was that? Was it a grown man? Do I have to throw hands right now? What's going on? And I saw the boy run by and I'm like, was it the kid? And I look over my shoulder and it was like this other family there and they're watching and I'm like, is he yours? And they're like, no, not ours. And I'm like, okay. And I go back to do go backs and I feel him running back and he smacks me again. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, kid, if you don't stop, I'm gonna throw hands at you. And at one point, he runs and stops next to me. And I turn to him like, hey kid, or can you not hit me please? I'm trying to work here. And he's like, no. And I'm like, what? He's like, no, F you. And I'm like, whoa, what? What did you say? And he said, F you. And then he called me the N-word, called me the B word, and proceeded to be like cursing at me. And this boy was like 3 or 4, by the way, with like a mohawk, and he had light skin, he was blonde, and he was just like saying, yeah, F you, N-word, haha, and he ran away. And I just stood there stunned like, this little boy is cursing. 1, where did he learn that? And 2, why is he doing it to me? I'm not paid to deal with this crap. Why am I dealing with this? And he kept running by and saying like bad words. Like he'd run by and be like, N-word, na, B word, na. And I'm like, bruh. I look over at the family and before I can say anything, they're done with their transaction and they're walking away and they call the boy over. He looks over at me, he's like, yeah, and then he runs off. It's like the things you have to put up for retail, man, just to get paid minimum wage. And so comes story number 4, the couple in the fitting room. Yeah, we know where this is going. So my job as a cashier is not only to deal with customers in the front, but to go do go-backs and go check the fitting rooms and bring the clothing back. And we had to do this once every hour and sign a paper in the fitting room that says that we checked. And the managers keep up on that. So I'm going to do my part and do my best because I'm a hard worker. I care about my jobs. So I go over and check all the fitting rooms and I can hear that they're all not used, -1, and someone's in there, so I'm like, okay, I'll come back in a few minutes. So I go back to the register, I start dealing with people and customers, doing go-backs and checking other fitting rooms, and I come back to that fitting room like 10 minutes later. The sad part is when you wait too long, there's more people coming in, so there was more people in the fitting room, and so it took longer to do this process. I came back and they were all empty minus that same one again, and I could hear like shuffling, and I'm like, wow, she's really struggling with putting that clothing on. Like, I understand. Sometimes when you're trying to put on a skirt or like a bra, it doesn't fit right. So it's stuck and you're shuffling, which I get. So I leave and I come back again like a few minutes later because she was in there for like half an hour by now. And as I go over, I hear like voices, and I thought I heard a guy's voice, and I'm like, no way, I did not just hear a guy's voice in the women's fitting room in the one stall. There's no way. I walk out, and a few minutes later I'm like, no, I think I heard a guy. And I told one of my coworkers, she's like, go check, like go check and make sure there's nobody in there. I'm like, okay. I walk over and I'm creeping this time. I'm like, I'm finding out who's in there. So I creep over to the fitting room, that way they can't hear my shoes, and I hear like people in there, and there was 2 people. You can clearly tell there was 2 people. And I heard the guy's voice, I heard the girl's voice, and I heard a lot of shuffling. And I'm like, oh my god, they really are doing this in a department store's fitting room, which was very dirty, by the way. In another story, you'll understand why I say that. So after I asked my manager, he says that we have to wait for them to walk out. We can't do anything ourselves. So we basically had to wait out like another 20 minutes just to watch them walk. And I was just folding stuff, and I look over, and sure enough, there was a guy and a girl both walking out of the fitting room, and my other guy coworker comes up and he's like, so, who wants to go in there and check if there's any mess? And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, we gotta go check if to clean up anything that's in there. And I'm like, it's like 5, I'm gonna get in trouble, I have to go to lunch, bye. And so I go off to lunch. I don't know if anybody did check or clean anything up, but that's what happened that day. It's awful that this has to happen in a department store fitting room. Those are the stories I have for today. If you worked retail and you can relate with any of this, go ahead and comment below what your horror stories was. And I'll have another episode coming up about this, because I need to tell you about what the store has done that most of you don't know about and is really gross, especially concerning the fitting rooms. That's all I have for today. If you liked the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. I'll see you next week. Bye.